Time and time again, there's a video trending online of mass departure in Ghana's international airport. Whenever the video is trending, I ask myself, what is the motive of people leaving the country en masse? What has triggered them? And do they ever intend going back? It gives me a moment to reflect on my life. In 2022, I packed my bags and I was off from Sibirioso to Accra, and from Accra to Manchester. It was the first time I was going to leave my family, and I didn't know when I was going to return. Honestly, it was a moment that came with mixed feelings. When I went to the visa center and I collected my passport, I thought I would be excited, happy, jump, or maybe scream. But that was not the case. I was rather quite saddened to leave my family, to leave the people I cared about, to leave my dreams, and to leave the country I love. But what option did I have? I barely saw myself succeeding in a system that nearly gave opportunities to the young. It was a very difficult decision for me to make. Moving to the UK was not some kind of flex for me. I spoke to people who were close to me in uni whenever we would have a conversation about high hopes of making Ghana a better place, contributing our quota to develop the place we call home. I was a student politician, I emceed programs in the uni. I basically did everything in the university. I sang in the choir, I played instruments in my local church, AGCM. I was that person that you would see everywhere because I believe that I had so much in me and I wanted to explore in that stage of my life and know what I really wanted to do with my life. I was studying nursing in the university and had hopes of completing and contributing my quota to the country. But I had to abandon my music career and my nursing career in Ghana to move to the UK. This is just not my story. It's a story of hundreds of people I personally know and people that I've never even met. Most of my mates who I sat with in the same classroom in uni are in the UK. Our predecessors, some of them are here. Some of our juniors intend to join, and it has actually become a dream for people who are still at home. So what does it mean for the future? Why are people moving en masse, myself included? Is it because we want to flex? Is it because we want a luxurious life? I started asking myself these questions. And what I found was that it is actually a form of rebellion. It is a form of registering our displeasure and our distaste in a failing economy, in a country where we have no hope. It is our cry for help, because nothing will make you leave a country of your birth, a country you are happy to be in, a country where your livelihood has been built upon, and move into a country that you have no ties with whatsoever. I think it's quite arrogant to think that you would pack your bags one day, take a flight, and move into another country, thinking and somewhat being hopefully certain that you're going to have a better life in that country. Don't you think it's arrogant? But that has been the case for many Africans, many young Africans, even old Africans, of escaping a situation of hopelessness. It is not because we don't want to live in Africa. It's because we want a standard of life where we think it is nearly impossible. A lot of systems that are supposed to be in place to help the young African tribe, the young Ghanaian tribe, the young Nigerian tribe, it's saddled in corruption, saddled in mismanagement to the point where it's frustrating. I moved to the UK with £400 on me. It was at the same time that I had posted myself to Tamale Teaching Hospital. I like to explore. I had never been to the northern region. And I felt like being there was going to be a learning curve for me. How was I going to afford rent and afford my salary being delayed for about 8 months, which is a routine in Ghana for newly posted people, and be expected to survive? But when I moved to the UK, in 3 weeks, I was paid. I could afford to rent an apartment, not pay 2 years rental advance, but just pay a month's deposit and pay my rent monthly. It is not really special to live in the UK. It is because the systems allow you to breathe. You don't have to cough up the money you don't have if you're going to live within your means. moving to a European country, which is mostly the target of young Africans, doesn't instantly make you rich, at least not in your destination. It barely makes you stay afloat. But why would we choose that? By abandoning our families and still make that journey? It is because we are saying that we want a better life. Amongst all the resources that has been available to African countries, we are literally the poorest on earth. Don't misunderstand that statement. It doesn't mean we don't have people who are rich, but determining how rich a country is largely by its middle class, by its GDP, by the quality of life that people live, by their happiness index. And by these measures, Africa doesn't even come close. Ghana doesn't come close, and Nigeria neither. Look at how we treat people who are vulnerable in society. Because we are all consumed in the situation of finding our survival needs, even to the detriment of our mental health. We are barely trying to survive. Why would we even care about anything else? When I was in uni, I was particularly drawn to mental health and health law and psychology. These were subjects and courses that I was particularly interested in. I even had a brainchild in mental health that I would want to have a project where people who run on the streets, people who have mental conditions, will be given a better environment to thrive in, to live and have the proper care they deserve. So when I was told that in our final year we're going to go to a psychiatric hospital to do our mental health clinical placement, I was really hopeful and hyped up. I had never been to a psychiatric hospital, not to talk of one of Ghana's biggest psychiatric hospitals. I was really looking up for that moment. The day came, I packed my bags and baggages, joined the school bus, and we moved straight to Pantang. And the 4-week period or so we spent there was nothing but heartbreaking. It was just like a bulb has been turned on in my mind. It was a eureka moment. I was so dumbfounded and shocked by the state at which we were keeping people who were so vulnerable as the mentally challenged. I was disgusted, to say the least. How come we are treating people like this? The environment, the food, the structures there. At the time, we had already had a program where we hosted the Mental Health Authority CEO, Dr. Osei, if my mind serves me right, where he bemoaned most of the challenges that bedeviled the Mental Health Authority and why they could not deliver on certain things. I was particularly interested. I asked him a couple of questions and wanted to find answers to this. I literally could go to a placement, let's say on a Tuesday, come back and lie on my bed and be very, very saddened. I always told myself that I could not afford to have a mental problem in my own country. I dared not, because I would have ended up on the street. And most Ghanaians don't even know this fact because they've not come in contact with this situation. Because I was a student, I was supposed to undertake this clinical placement, and that was what I learned. Not to talk about the buildings that have been left abandoned and rotten in the bush that were supposed to be serving as accommodation for staff, nurses, medical laboratory scientists, doctors who were supposed to be treating these people. These buildings have been left to rot in the bush. I could sometimes go strolling with my friends and we could not just imagine what was going on. What is the crime of Ghanaians in the hands of Ghanaian leaders? That was a moment I told myself that I wouldn't want to live in this environment, not because I don't love my country, but because I can't even afford to be mad in my own country. As at now, the mental health treatment is not free. How can you not make this treatment free? Even people who are capable, mentally capable, who get certain conditions and are sometimes even able to work, are enjoying facilities that are maybe partially subsidized or free in some instances. How much more people who are mentally incapable, their families would have to cough out big sums of money for rehabilitation programs, for antipsychotic medications, and a whole lot. Why? The Mental Health Authority is underfinanced and they cannot even give the necessary care to the patients who are there. Training for psychiatrists and for mental health affiliated jobs are underfunded. Recently, Ghana discovered large sums of lithium, and I was not shocked. I always would crack a joke with my dad that whoever discovered Ghana and called it Gold Coast was a genius. Probably they were indeed picking the gold from the coast, because now gold is being mined literally everywhere in Ghana. I'm from the Western North region, Psychiatric to be specific, and people are now cutting their cocoa farms to mine gold. So what explains the poverty that bedevils the country? In 2007, Ghana struck oil, and it was touted as that thing that was going to change the fortunes of the country. Don't ask me. Your guess is as good as mine. Nothing came out of it. 2027, which is just around the corner, will be 20 years since Ghana started drilling oil in commercial quantities. It has not stabilized the currency. It has not brought any significant development to the country. If anything at all, it has made it worse. We are borrowing annually, called the syndicated loan, to purchase the cocoa that our farmers harvest annually. Who bewitched the country and who bewitched us? Sometimes as a young African, I think about our problems and I'm overwhelmed. Hope has been snatched away from the young generation. A lot of people want to find ways to move out of the country. They just want to be anywhere except maybe on the continent. Let me get back to the lithium story. I have been following the news from the UK, and I was discussing with my fiancé the last time that why would you think it would take the chief imam, the Christian council, almost every voice in Ghana, think tanks, civil society organizations, tell the government that the deal you are signing is not good for the country? Isn't that supposed to be the government's business? Aren't they supposed to find a better deal for the citizens to benefit from? Why would you think the chief imam would have to leave all his spiritual duties and sanction his spokesperson to tell this to politicians and to leaders who begged us for our votes to represent us and change our lives and make the country a better place to live in? Do you need all these people telling you that you are doing the wrong thing? It's a shame, really. And I want you to know from today that the young Africans are not leaving the continent because we just want to be in the United States, we want to be in the UK, we want to be in Europe, we want to be in the Emirates. No, it's because we are saddened by the situations we see. We want to escape poverty, and we don't want that to be our children's story. And if you are in anywhere but Africa and you monitor the news, then that is even more heartbreaking. Young Africans deserve better. Don't pretend to be a politician when you don't care about the country. Don't pretend to be a leader if deep down in your heart you don't want to do anything to make the situation better. And to those of you who have hijacked the system, impoverishing the masses to your own benefit, I wish karma was as relevant as people think it is. But until we have systems that are going to demand accountability from these people, it's still a hopeless situation. Africa deserves better. Young Africans deserve better. And we actually have what it takes to be better. Look at the African Cup of Nations being played in Cote d'Ivoire. How can we even play AFCON 2024 in just Cote d'Ivoire, and other Africans cannot travel to Cote d'Ivoire to support their countries? You watch the AFCON and you look at the number of people in the stadium and you ask yourself, what is the problem? It is more expensive flying from Tanzania to Cote d'Ivoire than flying from the UK to Cote d'Ivoire. How did we even do that to ourselves? People are not in the stadium because they are barely fighting for their survival needs. Do they have the luxury of chasing entertainment, which will even in effect benefit their mental health? African youth deserve better. And not until all these challenges are addressed, I don't see a reason why young Africans will not continue to move en masse out of the continent. The least said about Nigeria, the better. Nigeria's economy alone, if managed properly, can power the whole Africa. I want to end it here, but this is why I want to leave with you. Who bewitched us?